So basically, the number of transistors on the microchip double every 2 years. But today, they slow down first to 2.5 years, then probably 3 years, and then longer and longer. That's why people say that Moore's law is ending. And at least it's no longer hold as previously. So now, one question I have for you guys is that why we have the Moore's law during the past maybe half a century, right? It's so accurate, right, to double every 2 years. Any guess? I will increase in demand. Yes, we have increased all the time, right? But now you see it's slow down, right? Even with even higher demand, Intel cannot keep the speed. Let's say if you check Intel stock market cap decrease a lot. Its market cap is even lower than a company AMD, which is a big surprise to many people, because in our mind, Intel is the giant and AMD is just a smaller company. But now actually, AMD bypass Intel in the market cap. Any other guess? Okay, so the reason is not fully technical. It's actually Intel is a monopoly at that time. Therefore, and also the processor is considered to be the center of the machine. Therefore, Intel can coordinate with all the other sectors, all the other companies, right? How to coordinate? They basically set this speed. So this is their plan. They try to increase the number of transistors every 2 years. Double that every 2 years. So if other companies fall behind this schedule, so they need to work harder, right, to match it. But if they do faster than that, okay, instead of keep pushing, they will just wait, right, to make it work, because they already meet the goal. Right. So that's why during that past 5 decades, even though we have the perfect Moore's law, but this is everything like applied. Right. This is a kind of applied economy. Actually slows down a lot of the technical development or breakthrough in the computer architecture. Right. That's why during the past 10 years, like the Turing laureate mentioned, right, this will be the golden age for computer architecture, right? Because now we no longer need to follow the Moore's law, right? If you can do much faster, just go with it. Now we can see a lot of accelerators. The system becomes more and more kind of heterogeneous, right? In the old days, we only have a very limited selection of the processors, right? Dominated by Intel and from maybe AMD a little bit. But now you see a lot of options you can choose from. Right? This is what we really want to see. Right? So Moore's law, yes, it helps the industry grow in the past half century, but it may not be the best option. right? Because everything is just planned and coordinated by kind of a monopoly in the system, in the area. Right? But now, right, when it's ending, we see more and more innovations, right? Which means if you're interested in this area, this is also a golden age. So behind this one, why Intel cannot continue to do that? Right? So it's not that they cannot put down more transistors. Right? For some time, people worried that the size of the transistor is a problem, right? Because now we can do 3 nanometer, and that is already close to the size of what's that? The size of the sorry, I forgot the name. Yeah, basically you can consider the physical limitation. Right? But actually, that's not the reason for this. The reason is that the heating and the cooling. Right? As you put more transistors, the transistor becomes smaller, but the power density will be higher, right? Basically, as you put more and more transistors, they become the heat become they generate more and more heat for the same size. And the cooling and the power is just on one side. The other is that in order to cool the processor, right? You need more and more powerful cooling, right? Just using the air cooling is not enough. Right? So this one broke in this one, as you see. This is the first line is transistors. This just keep increasing the number of transistors. That's not a problem. But you see the frequency start to go down, right? To keep flat and then go down, right? And at the same time, they have a number of cores. The reason is the power, the typical power. This one, this is a little bit orange, this curve. This keep increasing and increasing to the level that we cannot do the cooling. As a result, we have to reduce the frequency because the power we consume is in a cubic function of the frequency. If we keep the frequency flat, you make it lower, that also makes the power flat, right? And meanwhile, that can accommodate more transistors, but because the frequency is lower, the performance is not increased. Therefore, the composite is that now we have multiple cores. You can see the number of cores increase significantly. Right. This is the underlying problem for the system. Is that we don't have enough cooling capacity. If we keep adding more transistors without reducing the frequency, right? The system can be just too hot. Yeah, sorry, I just mentioned the atom. Right? So now the 3 nanometer is not far from the limitation of an atom. Right? When we approach those, you can say, right, then people worry about there may be some quantum effects that may stop us from going even smaller. Okay. We just talked about the processing. For the storage, now we have more layers. The L1, layer 1 cache and the layer 2 cache those are in the CPU. Because the CPU also need to store the data they process. And because those cache are just embedded in the same chip, like in the CPU. The CPU can access those cache very fast, but those cache are very expensive, so they only have a small size. Nowadays, people try to get a level 3 cache in the CPU. And after that, that will go to the RAM, which we will have a new technology. Right? People, because the RAM, the main memory, one difference between the main memory and the disk is when you lose power, the data is still in the disk, while the data in the memory will be lost. This is called volatile. Nowadays, people are developing the non-volatile memory. Right? So we turn off the power on the memory, they still hold the data. And in that sense, we can put the memory even on sleep. Right? So if we don't need the data at the moment. Right? During the night, you can see a lot of the server just put on sleep, right? Save most of the electricity. And now there are some breakthroughs in the non-volatile memory, and we expect to see more in the future. Also for the traditional memory, people try to make it 3D, right? Because we want to pack as much as possible into a single server. Right? So Intel, they have the 3D technology, right, to do the memory. And the SSD is what you know, right? It's the flash drive instead of traditional disks. SSD is much faster than the traditional disks, and there is no mechanical component there. The traditional disk is like a tape, right? You have the rotator, and you have the head to read the data. In order to read data, you need to physically move and rotate the head to the location. And therefore, it's very slow. And also the mechanical part can be easily break down. Right. Versus SSD, now it's all electronics. You can access remotely, access any part at the same time. Right. So it's much faster, and also there you don't need to worry about the mechanical part. In the old days, if you have a laptop, you shouldn't move it as it's running, because when you move it, that can break the mechanical part. But now with SSD, you can safely move your computer, take it with you while it's running. And this is very convenient. Also for the flash drive, there is also the part called NVMe SSD that can make it even faster. So they add a little bit more kind of non-volatile memory to make it faster. So as we move to the top, we have a lower latency, higher bandwidth, and high endurance. But when you move lower, we have higher capacity and a lower cost. Right? So as you can see, there is a clear trade-off. Right? That's why we want to have the hierarchy to try to get the benefit of all. Because otherwise, right, you can just if one technology have all the benefit, you can just use that single technology. Okay, so we will stop here and continue next time. Any last minute questions?
Professor?
Go ahead.
Should we need to using the AWS in these classes?
No, we don't. We will use other two cloud provider. Actually, we will mainly use